Today, I'm going to react to a video called 10 Things I Hated About the Scarlet Lady Cruise Ship. If you would like to hear if I agree or disagree with the points in the video, please keep watching. Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope you are having a splendid day, and if you are new here, welcome. My name is Kim. My husband and I and two friends recently got off the Scarlet Lady, and that is the Virgin Voyages ship currently sailing out of Miami. It's a new ship, and I was lucky enough to get to go on it. We were on a 4-night sailing. It went to Nassau and the Beach Club in Bimini. And before we left, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos on the Scarlet Lady so I could prepare and get excited for my voyage. And one of the most intriguing videos I came across was called 10 Things I Hated About the Scarlet Lady, and it definitely gave me some things to think about. Now, this video is from the ShipLife, and I will link all of the channel information in the description below. And I just want to say I am a fan of the channel, I am a subscriber, and I did reach out to the creator of the ShipLife and asked if he would have any issues with me possibly doing a reaction video. And he said, absolutely not, go for it, which was so nice, and I just want to take a second to say thank you so much to the ShipLife. So I'm going to watch the video, and I'm going to tell you if our experiences were different or if Virgin has changed anything in the 2 months between our two sailings. So let's get started.
So I recently sailed on the brand new Scarlet Lady Cruise Ship by Virgin Voyages, and while it was interesting to see a new cruise line come out and try to shake things up a bit, I do have to admit a lot of things just didn't make sense, causing a wave of confusion that may have pushed away potential new loyal customers and maybe downright even angered them a little. And while I enjoyed being a sailor on board, I do have to admit there were some things that I honestly didn't like. Some things, well, I hated. That's why in today's video, I'm going to tell you 10 things that I hated about the Scarlet Lady. By the way, before we begin, I do have to put the disclaimer out there. Please keep in mind that these are just opinions. They're not only opinions from myself, but from other sailors that I talked to and interviewed while I was on board the Scarlet Lady. I also do understand full well that this is a brand new ship and they are still kind of working out the kinks.
So if he's going to do a disclaimer, I'd like to do a quick one too. My point with this video is not to discredit any of the information given. This was a great video. It was very informative, and it was his opinion, and I thought a lot of his opinions were valid. My point with the video is just to tell you if we had a different experience or if Virgin has made any changes since he sailed.
So the first thing that I hated about the Scarlet Lady was embarkation day. Upon arrival to Port Miami, things are pretty standard. They check in your bag and then they issue you your wristband, which is a replacement of the typical ID or key card that you would use for the entirety of your cruise. But the thing that's different with Virgin Voyages is that they do send all this stuff to your home address prior to your cruise. The problem with my case in particular was that I flew in from Europe the day prior. So all of my stuff was sent home and I didn't get it. So they ended up writing out like a tag for me with pen and pencil, and then they just threw it on with the rest of the items. Unfortunately, my bags never showed up to my room and I had to go all the way down to guest services to finally go and retrieve my bag.
Okay, so I did not hate embarkation, but we definitely had a few little minor issues as well. With the wristbands, we never received ours. We live in South Florida, but interestingly, the two friends that we were traveling with, they did receive their wristbands, and they live in Minnesota. And when we checked in, the person who checked them in commented, "Oh, these are the first wristbands I've seen all day." Wasn't a big deal. They just gave us the wristbands at check-in. The one cool thing was that their wristbands actually had their names on it, and ours just said "Ahoy Sailor." So it would have been kind of cool to have a personalized wristband, but not a big deal.
Now also, while you're at the cruise port outside, they do tell you that you have to get a complimentary COVID test. They make you go to an additional website that isn't on the Virgin Voyages app and put in an appointment time. Let's say you choose 12:30 or 1 p.m., but your boarding time is at 3 p.m. You had hundreds of people trying to gather up to get inside of the cruise terminal for their COVID test because it was different than what was on their boarding time. However, they then told you that you had to just pay attention to your boarding time, and the appointment time for your COVID test doesn't really matter.
We had a check-in time of 12:30. We arrived right on time, and they sent us right in to get the COVID test. They had crew members holding a big QR code. So you would walk up, scan the QR code with your phone, and then you would fill out all of your personal information as you were walking to take the COVID test. There was no line. There was no waiting. We were in and out. I was astounded and very happy about that.
Now, aside from the confusion outside of the terminal with the boarding time and the COVID test, once inside, things were pretty smooth and cut and dry overall, except for the fact that they had you go from one waiting room after you got your COVID test to another waiting room to board the cruise, which was kind of counterproductive in my personal opinion.
We breezed through the COVID test. We breezed through check-in, and I thought we were going to board. We had a boarding time of 12:30. We were then sent into a waiting room with very uncomfortable chairs, and they told us that boarding would be at 2 o'clock. They also gave us a boarding group number. We were group 8. I thought group 8 was going to board at 2 o'clock. No, that wasn't the case at all. Boarding was going to start at 2 o'clock. So they had hundreds of people in this waiting room, and boarding didn't even begin until 2 p.m. They do have vending machines there, luckily, because we were hungry, so we had to grab some Cheetos.
There was a muster drill or a safety drill video that we were required to watch inside of our cabin. And while it was without a doubt the most interesting, entertaining safety drill video I've ever watched in my life, it seemed kind of counterproductive. You had to watch this safety video as a requirement to sail on board the ship, confirm you watched it via telephone, and then you had to go to your muster station. The problem that I encountered was the muster station that was assigned on my door in my room was not where I was supposed to go. I ended up going from one place to another place to a third place to finally get checked in.
Our stations were correctly identified, so we didn't have that problem at all, and it is so much better than how they used to do muster, where you had to go to some area of the ship and stand for 30 minutes waiting for the latecomers to arrive and then finally do the muster drill. So I really like this new process.
Number 2, I hate that I still can't figure out who the target audience is for the Scarlet Lady and Virgin Voyages as a whole. Is it for younger people? Is it for older people? Even after sailing, I still don't know. From the activities to the entertainment, it really is hard to pinpoint who this cruise line is trying to appeal to. Now, let's say the rooms, for example. They're not super pricey, but your average person in their 20s couldn't really afford it. My room, which was the cheapest room, cost about $1,400. But then at the same time, you have people that are 40 and up that may not really like boxing on board while they're hitting the 7 seas. It just doesn't make sense. And at this point, even after sailing, I still really don't get it.
So I agree with him. I'm not 100% certain who the target market is for Virgin Voyages, but I do think there is a market for a cruise ship that is adult only, that is more casual. It's not one of the luxury brands, and this isn't priced as a luxury brand. It is a little bit more expensive than Royal Caribbean or Norwegian, for example. But if I were to guess who Virgin is targeting, it is adults 30 to 60 who aren't really interested in a luxury brand, but want a adult-only cruise without kids clubs or the chance of a toddler throwing a tantrum in the middle of dinner. And they also want something kind of cool and hip. They don't want to go to a main dining room, have formal nights, that kind of thing. So I think that's who Virgin is targeting, but I completely understand what the ShipLife is saying.
So the third thing that I hated about the Scarlet Lady was the entertainment. I have been fortunate in my life to have danced and entertained for cruise lines like NCL and Carnival. I've worked for theme parks. I've traveled all over the world, working for companies like the Harlem Globetrotter. Now, when it comes to Virgin Voyages, I will applaud you for not having the same cookie cutter, copy and paste dance shows that we see on every other ship. And the talent on board the Scarlet Lady is off the charts. However, when it comes to the shows as a whole, I wasn't too impressed. So the two main shows on board the Scarlet Lady are Untitled Dance Show Party Thing and Dueling Reality. When it comes to the dance show party thing, it was somewhat entertaining. There were lights, there was a lot of moving stages, there was audience participation, everybody got involved. However, the show itself was kind of all over the place. And when it comes to Dueling Reality in particular, this is an extremely acrobatic show, and like I said, the people are extremely talented. Here's something that I know as far as working with a ton of acrobats and circus performers that are some of the best in the world. they are good at just doing that kind of stuff. They had acrobats that were trying to sing and act, and it just didn't click very well. Now, circling back to all the amazing talent that is on board the Scarlet Lady, ranging anywhere from singers to dancers to magicians, well, they're not utilized that much, at least from my perspective. There is an extreme amount of dead space, and this is something I heard from a lot of people on board. There just simply wasn't a lot to do. The magicians, I'd only see them every now and then at around 2 a.m. whenever they'd grab you from the party to sneak you into some private room to show you some magic stuff. They should use these people a lot more because they are characters and they have overall great personalities.
We actually didn't see any of the shows, but the one thing I will say about the entertainment on board was that the live music that they had on the Scarlet Lady was by far the best I had ever seen on any cruise ship. They had a blues band on there called the Slam Allen Blues Band, I believe. They were so incredible, and they played a lot. And they did play during the happy hour times, so maybe Virgin has heard that comment that there's not a lot to do in the in-between time between afternoon and nighttime. They also had a house band. They called it the Virgin Voyages House Band. I think they had a name, but I don't remember what it was. It was something with love, I believe. But they were so freaking good. It was insane. We went and saw them one night in the Manor, which is the nightclub on board, and oh, my cat. And I have never seen this before on a cruise ship. But after they finished and left the stage, the crowd chanted and cheered and stomped their feet until they came out and did an encore. I didn't really know that there were magicians on board. I never saw them, and I was on board for 4 full days and nights. So I'm not sure what that was about, but it would have been nice to see a magician.
Now, one thing also I am going to point out is why Virgin? Why in the heck is there not a comedian on board? This is an adult-only cruise. I don't see why there isn't the most zero-filtered, most controversial, adult, X-rated comedian that the world has to offer on board this particular ship.
I definitely also agree that there should be a comedian on board. They had some kind of sex expert on board that did a show. I've heard it was pretty funny. We didn't get to go to it. It was just 4 nights and it kind of flew by. But I do think that Virgin does do things differently just to be different instead of doing things different that are actually better. So I completely agree. They should have an adult comedian on board. I don't understand why they don't.
For number 4, let's talk about the food. Now, I know there has been a lot of hype around Virgin Voyages food, and it is great. Now, I have nothing really truly bad to say about the food except for the fact that the food was not bad enough. And I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, but when I go on a cruise, I'm somebody that does like to pick out or at least have my options. If I want to get some greasy pizza, there should be multiple places where I can get some greasy food and some unhealthy food, which was not at the buffet. They had sushi and a ton of variety over there, but just not the things that I look for whenever I go on a cruise.
I think what the ShipLife might be saying is he misses the buffet, and I'm just assuming here, because how the galley works, and the galley is what Virgin is the equivalent of a buffet on Virgin. It's more of a food court. You go in, you sit down, you pull up the menu with a QR code. You definitely use your phone a lot on this cruise. And then somebody comes over and takes your order. So you might order a burger and fries, or you might order an omelet and hash browns. But you definitely aren't having the experience of walking around and filling up your plate with, absolutely everything. You're kind of just ordering more a la carte.
Now, they had this vegan/vegetarian spot called Razzle Dazzle, which was the healthy option on board. They had a couple little naughty options, but this kind of seemed to be the vibe of the entire ship. In my opinion, even the ice cream felt kind of healthy. Now, I get it, people are gonna have their tastes and likes and dislikes, but I do believe there should be more of a range of options as far as the cruise, other than just the specialty dining options, because they are always going to have a range of options because that's what people are really paying for when it comes to dining.
We felt like there were plenty of options. The diner in the galley is 24/7, so you can go ahead and get something there anytime you want. And also they do have a pizza place but it is made to order and the pizzas are fantastic. They're personal size pizzas. They have a pesto chicken, a classic, a pepperoni, a white pizza. They were all phenomenal, and that is open until 1:30 a.m. And Razzle Dazzle, like he said, it does lean toward vegan and vegetarian, but the food we had there was very good, and they do have things on their naughty menu like fried chicken. They also had some really good cheesy tots, good fries. I think they had a pork schnitzel. We ate there, everybody left full, and we enjoyed our meal very, very much.
Now, another thing is that I went to the Wake restaurant, which is supposed to be, I guess, one of the top tier restaurants on board the ship, and I paid $70 for a seafood tray, which came with lobster, crab, oysters, shrimp, you name it. But the thing about all this was that the first time in my life I had cold crab legs and cold lobster. I like my crab hot with some hot garlic butter. I mean, maybe that's just me, and this is a very nitpicky thing to talk about, but that's just something I wasn't pleased with considering I paid $70 for the entree and they didn't have an option to make it hot.
All in all, we felt like the food on this cruise ship was much, much better than on a traditional cruise line. Standouts were the Korean barbecue restaurant, which was absolutely phenomenal. The filet mignon at the Wake. I don't eat red meat, but our friends who had it said it was absolutely delicious.
Just keep in mind, when it comes to the app, a lot of these places were fully booked literally on embarkation day, so I was lucky to even get in. Also, another point on the app, it does seem to, for some reason, just randomly cancel your reservations, be it from a show or even in the dining option. So just be aware with that. Again, I understand Virgin has to work out some kinks, but that's something that really bothered me as well as a lot of others on board the Scarlet Lady.
Okay, so we had no problem booking our dining. We called Virgin about a week before, and I was able to make reservations at the restaurants for all 4 nights. It wasn't a problem at all.
So number 5, let's talk about the nightlife on board the Scarlet Lady. I'll be honest with you, it did not disappoint. I had a great time on some nights. Now, some I'll give the benefit of the doubt because we did get rained out, but one thing that really bothered me, again, was kind of like the pre-game in between day and night. There was really nothing going on to set everybody up to get ready for the night. There was a Scarlet night that was absolutely amazing. We had a lot of fun. Everybody wore red, and a lot of people thought it was like a swingers night, but again, that still kind of confuses me. But the thing that bothered me the most was that you had these beautiful nightclub that was set up for success, but unfortunately, it did not commit because of one thing. The vibe keeper, the master of music, the DJ. The DJ on board the Scarlet Lady was absolute trash. And man, myself along with many others, we just couldn't even bear to hear any of the music that was being played just because of how it was being done.
So my husband and I, we don't spend a lot of time in the club, but did he really just show the DJ that he said was absolutely horrible and terrible? Because if so, that is savage. I don't really have a lot to say because we didn't spend a lot of time in the Manor. It is kind of a cool club. Take a look around because you may think it's super crowded, but there's actually some back areas that you don't even know are there unless you explore. So if you're looking for a quieter spot in the Manor, there are some out-of-the-way spaces, but you have to look for them. So we did go to the Manor a couple nights. One was to see the live band, which I already said was phenomenal, and then we popped in briefly during disco night. They were playing good disco. I really can't comment on the whole club scene on the ship. I wish the ShipLife would have said what he would have liked to have seen in the pre-game time, because I'm just not sure 100% that I understand what he would have liked to have seen or what other cruise ships do. They did have some live entertainment during the happy hour times on a couple nights, so maybe Virgin has listened. But I do agree there could be a lot more music and entertainment in the public spaces on board as a whole.
So the 6th thing that I hated on board the Scarlet Lady was the pool and outdoor activities. Now, we've all seen how notoriously small the pool is, and it's even smaller in person, trust me. Now, don't get me wrong, I think I get what Virgin was trying to do. They're trying to create somewhat of an intimate environment, causing people to kind of bunch up together for this amazing Miami style or beach style, whatever party style vibe. But the problem is, you got people that, believe it or not, Virgin, they actually want to swim and do a cannonball from time to time. They also had this weird Muscle Beach type gym, I guess, over on another part of the aquatic club, or AKA the Lido deck. I never really saw anybody working out there. It was, I guess, an Instagram area, which is pretty common on board the Scarlet Lady. I think we all know that. But the gym, the actual gym, is still on that same deck as the aquatic club or the Lido deck. They also have another gym that is just one deck above that. Now, as far as the activities, they have kind of like this weird playground area where they have like a teeter-totter. Now, you guys know I have fun. I jumped on that teeter-totter and people were looking at me like I was crazy. They also had this area called the net, which I guess you can get a good view, which was pretty cool, I guess, in concept. But laying down on it, it's extremely uncomfortable. You can't bounce on it, and it really has no use. In my opinion, it was somewhat of a waste of real estate, because every single inch of a cruise ship is going to be real estate that you can use to potentially entertain or make money. It just didn't really work out because I didn't see a lot of people on it. Now, they do have a really cool basketball court, which I had the honor of playing the captain, which, of course, I lost. But I let him win, all right? You can't let the captain lose in a game of basketball. Who knows? He might take the ship in another direction, and just because he's angry. We wouldn't want that, now would we? The seventh thing that I hated about the Scarlet...
He's very funny. I like his videos so much, and I just applaud him. He is so articulate. I'm a beginning YouTuber, but I can barely say a sentence without 3 ums, and I'm always just amazed at just how smooth he is in his presentation. But anyway, fangirling aside, I completely agree with absolutely everything the ShipLife said in that portion of the video. The pool, it's ridiculous, and I know there's been lots of excuses and things like that, but the Scarlet Lady, when it's at full capacity, is going to be able to hold close to 3,000 passengers. And the pool looks like it's a normal cruise pool, but the pool is actually only in the center of the pool. That's the only place that you can really like take a dip. And if there's 10, 12 people in there, it's full. The rest of the pool is just like 3 inches deep. Those are on the sides. And I think they were trying to do more of a pool party vibe versus a pool. And I know that Virgin has said that they make up for this with the Bimini Beach Club, which has one of the largest pools in the Bahamas. And it is fabulous. But the pool doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And the weird Muscle Beach area, 1,000%. Of course, we went up there, we walked around on day 1, we got on the seesaw, but it is wasted space. We never went back up to that area, and when the ship is at full capacity, they're going to need to do something else with that section, because like the ShipLife said, real estate is, you need every inch of real estate on a cruise ship. So I totally concur.
The seventh thing that I hated about the Scarlet Lady was the fact that there was no drink package available for purchase. In my mind, when I first made my initial booking, I was like, okay, either the drinks are going to be really cheap or they got you and you have no choice but to buy the expensive, overpriced, probably watered down drinks that they have available on board. Now, I will admit, when I got on board, the drinks were reasonably priced. They weren't that bad. However, they also matched up, I guess, this deal that if you buy $300 worth of drinks, for every $300, they're going to give you an additional $50. Now, if they're going to do that because the concept isn't that bad, you should start that at $100. For every $100, you get an extra $50 or $25 or something of that nature. To me, that made the most sense. Otherwise, it's kind of, again, counterproductive, and it's going to make a lot of people just kind of put off by the fact that you're trying to make people spend that amount of money on drinks, even though, yeah, let's be fair, a lot of people do anyway.
So for our sailing, we could prepay $300, and then because we were inaugural sailors, they added $125 to our $300. So my husband and I both each prepaid $300, and then we each got $125, or a total of $250. So it worked out for us just fine. I don't know what Virgin is going to do after the inaugural sailings. If it is just $50 on top of the $300 bar tab, I completely agree with him. It should be at least $100. But Virgin is a new cruise line, so maybe they will listen to that. But I did find the drinks to be very reasonably priced, and our bar tabs lasted the entire cruise.
For number 8, we have the island of Bimini. Now, I will say this private island was extremely beautiful. Of course, you have the Bimini Beach Club that is exclusive to Virgin Voyages sailors, and like I said, very beautiful. Not a ton of things to do if you're looking for something similar to a Coco Cay. However, it's an adult-only cruise, so you're not going to find a lot of playgrounds or anything of that nature. There's the beach, there's jet skiing, all the typical stuff you would find in a Caribbean private island. But one thing that I didn't like in particular was the fact that the food is done and over with at 5 o'clock. However, the ship stays there until midnight. So I thought that was kind of strange when they have all these little bonfires and parties that are supposed to be going on in the middle of the night, which for that reason, I did not go over to the private beach club in the evening time. Another thing, which this may not apply to a lot of people, but they did run out of Moet champagne. Now, this is a little weird to me because there was this guy I was hanging out with that was apparently a multi-millionaire, and the bottles of Moet cost anywhere from $95 to around $100. This man bought about 25 bottles, which was insane to me, but he kept buying them and buying them until they ran out, of course. Apparently, he bought every bottle on the island, and then he bought some other champagne. I figure if you got high-end clients, you should have everything available at a beck and call.
So I have a lot to say about Bimini. First of all, he's absolutely right. It is gorgeous, and if you are going there, you are going to have a very, very special day. Our ship left at 8 p.m. We were not there late night, so the food being over at 5 o'clock, that wasn't a big deal for us. I will say the lunch was absolutely delicious, and the food overall was very, very good. But he's quite lucky, not only because he was hanging out with a millionaire who was buying him champagne the whole time. Wish I was there. On our sailing, they ran out of a lot more than champagne. It was a bit of a show. They ran out of straws. They ran out of light rum. They ran out of beer. It was almost as if they weren't expecting that many people to be in Bimini, although they knew exactly how many people were on the cruise ship. I found the bar service there to be very spotty. They didn't have the things to make certain cocktails. My husband ordered a Click, which was on their list. It's a Bahamian beer. They didn't have it. It was weird. It was strange. It is a brand new cruise line. Hopefully they are fixing those types of things, but people were drinking mojitos with spiced rum. It was just not good. That said, I will happily go back to the Bimini Beach Club anytime. We had a spectacular day. The water was crystal clear. They had a really fun pool float party that was just great to watch, and we had a good time. And you can get drinks and you can get served, and getting lunch was smooth and easy, and they had plenty of food, but there were definitely some hiccups. I completely agree with him on that.
Now on to more first world problems. Number 9, I hated the way guest services was set up. So here's the thing with guest services. It is pretty cool that on board Virgin Voyages, they do have 2 guest or sailor services areas. The first one is on deck 7, and then the main sailor service area is going to be on deck 5. Now here's the problem. On deck 7, it isn't the full service sailor service area. Man, I'm saying service a lot. But anywho, on this deck, they only deal with certain things like a reservation or something of that nature. However, if you lose your wristband or if you need something a little bit more serious, you then have to go all the way down to deck 5. But the problem is they don't exactly on deck 7 what they can service you for, what they can do for you. So again, you got a lot of people confused. They're going to one place and they're sent to another place, and on board a cruise ship, again, first world problems, but you got a lot of people that are being turned away and told to go one place when they're just trying to get something simple done.
That is confusing. I had to go to guest services once. Our bar credit wasn't showing up on our wallet on the Virgin Voyages app. I went, there was no waiting at all. They took me immediately and they resolved the problem instantly. So I have no complaints about guest services, but I do understand that having 2 different guest services, one full service and one partial service, that can be confusing. I guess I was lucky. Maybe I went to the right one, but I had no problems.
Finally, for number 10, we have disembarkation. Now, this is the day you get off the ship, and unfortunately, your cruise comes to an end. And when it comes to Virgin, I see what they were trying to do, but overall, some of it was just a little confusing. So you know how you typically have your time that you're supposed to disembark the ship? Well, you do it on the Virgin Voyages app, given that it's not crashing or just kind of all over the place, which apparently was common amongst a lot of sailors on board. You pick your time, but the thing is, they don't really disclose unless you really look for what you do with your bags. I had to find out from word of mouth that whenever you want your bag taken off the ship, you have to have it outside the door by 10 p.m. Now, I didn't do that. I ended up just walking my bag off. It didn't really bother me. My bag wasn't that big, but still, there were a lot of people that were kind of confused about the entire situation. But overall, it was pretty smooth sailing from that point moving forward.
We had no problems with the app crashing whatsoever during our sailing, and disembarkation was quite smooth. But he's right. There was absolutely no communication at all about what to do with your bags, what time you should get off. Finally, I checked the app and it said you could get off anytime after 6:30 a.m. till maybe 10:30 a.m. But there was no notice in your stateroom. There were no luggage tags for you. No one ever told us that we had the option to leave our luggage outside the cabin door, which we won't do anyway. If you've seen my video, 7 Biggest Cruise Goofs, you know why that is. But disembarkation was super easy for us. We walked off our bags. We left our cabin about 7 o'clock and we were back in our vehicle driving home at about 8 a.m., maybe a little bit earlier.
By the way, I will give you a little bonus. I didn't put this in the actual video because this doesn't really apply to everybody, but this is something that I heard about the casino that put a lot of people off. So when we had our sea day, apparently in the casino, they didn't have your standard tournaments that you would usually have at the slot machines and bonuses and all the other stuff that would typically drive people in. And a lot of the typical gamblers on board the ship were saying that Virgin was leaving a lot of money on the table. Now, personally, I don't gamble because I do believe the house always wins. However, Virgin, if you're listening, and if that is actually true, because I don't know from personal experience, well, you know what you got to do.
There were casino tournaments on our sailing, so maybe the Virgin Voyages did hear what the ShipLife was saying, and they are doing. There was a slot tournament, there were poker tournaments. I didn't participate in any of them, but I did see that they were being offered. So all in all, we had a really nice cruise on Virgin. Will I go back? Absolutely. I actually have another cruise booked with my parents in February. They are working out the kinks, but the cruise was fun and the positives far outweighed the negatives in my opinion. I want to again thank the ShipLife for allowing me to do the reaction video, and I hope you really enjoyed hearing my insights. I am going to be doing a full cruise review, and I'm going to tell you everything we did, everything we ate, where we went on the ship, tell you about the tattoo that I got at the tattoo parlor, and give you all the inside scoop. So if you don't want to miss that, hit the subscribe button and be sure to ring the bell so you'll be notified when I upload that video. And that's it. I hope you really enjoyed watching this. If you are planning to sail on Virgin, please leave a comment section below because I would love to hear your plans. And until next time, I hope you have happy and safe travels. Thanks for watching. It's very funny. I like his videos so much, and I just applaud him. He is so articulate, and for somebody, I'm a beginning YouTuber, but I can barely say a sentence without 3 ums.